Welcome back to Just Hear Me Out. I am your host, Barbara Bodley, and I'm here today with my husband, Scott Mackey. Today's episode is inspired by a lot of my clients asking me, how can I get rid of my cable? That it's costing too much. There's all sorts of deals, and then after a year, it jumps up to practically double. They can't get out of their contract or figure out how to get TV otherwise because it's not so simple if you don't do it all the time. So today, we want to talk about the steps you want to take if you want to get rid of cable TV and do streaming instead. And I will say, this is just as a start off, it's actually really easy and helpful, especially if you aren't into sports. Sports complicates. But we are going to go through all the details, and my husband at Mackey Tech is here for all the IT advice that you need.
Correct. Yeah, thank you for having me today. I appreciate it.
Of course. So we were talking about this. The very first steps you want to take are to look at what you are paying, like look at your paper bill or on your portal where you're getting cable from. Look at your bill and all the itemized items, and also to make a list of your favorite shows that you want to make sure that you're seeing for sure.
Yeah, I mean, you want to contact your cable provider or look it up online on your account and see what type of a package you're in. So if you're in a package that includes obviously your cable and maybe your internet and perhaps a landline, you want to determine if you use all of those different services. So if you also use your landline or if you need it or if you can get rid of it, if there's a way to get rid of it. I got rid of my landline 15 years ago probably because I was just receiving telemarketer calls on it all the time. So that's something you can determine. With respect to the packages that you're in, see if there's a way that you can get into a different package that does not include your cable. And if you're going to be, whether that's going to be more affordable or if that's going to be extending your contract, that's one of the things that you want to look at.
Yes, I want to say I've had experience with calling some of these companies, and from what I've heard from my clients, it can be really tricky. They make it really difficult, actually. They have very good salesmen that will talk you in circles. And they also have a whole section of the company called customer retention. So they'll send you to those people often, and then they'll start offering you deals of discounts. My advice, one thing I did is I had Comcast at the time, which is now called Xfinity, and they were giving me such a hard time. It was really hard to cancel. They weren't letting me just get internet. So I was so frustrated. I felt like I failed at my task after spending hours on the phone. And so I waited a few days and I called back and told the person on the phone that I was moving to Canada.
Yeah, that's what you have to do.
And then I went and got my internet service from AT&T.
Yeah, you're right. They are responsible for retention. So whatever they can do to keep you on your current plan or to get you on a different plan, their next step is either if they can give you a lower rate, that's one thing. They'll probably want to get you on a new contract is probably what they'll try to do because retention is important and that's, a benefit to them. And, that's one of the things that as a negotiation, you can say, in lieu of me canceling outright, I would be willing to entertain a longer agreement if you were to get me off of cable and get me a better price or whatever the situation is. But there's usually it's not that big of a deal. It's been happening for a long time. There was a big, what they call cut the cable craze back in, I don't even know what it was, 15, 20 years ago. And it's been going on and on. And I think the older generation, is probably the biggest demographic that still has cable in some way, shape, or form because, like you said, they probably don't know how to get rid of it or they're not comfortable. They don't really know how to do it. And there's a lot of options and it can be confusing.
I would say for sure it is cheaper to stream.
Yeah,
we'll go through the options. But one of the things with this is if you look at what you're paying without talking to somebody, you can kind of decide. So I think it would be best to decide on your own because of course they're going to talk you into staying. So if you decide from listening to the rest of this podcast that you want to get rid of cable, only call them and do not take no for an answer. Your choice is your choice. And if they won't give you internet service without bundling it with other things, then cancel all of it or lie and say you're moving to another country.
Yep.
Europe works too.
Yeah, and it doesn't hurt to be a little proactive. Do your research, look on their website, see what packages they offer, look at their competition, see what their competition offers. So you're not asking, you're saying, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to cancel this. Please remove that, add that, whatever it is you want to do. I think there was a statistic a couple of years ago that I read that people that have cable only watch about 5, maybe 10% of all of the channels that they have, which is just a ripoff. You're paying $130, $200 a month for most of the stuff that you're not even watching, and 90% of that, maybe 95, can be gotten through streaming services, and that's one of the things that you want to understand is that not everything that you watch is going to be available on streaming right away. There might be alternatives you have to do to have services that have ads on them, or you might have to pay an extra a little bit here and there to get what you want. But in the end, as Barbara said, you absolutely will save money, no question about it.
Yes. So I think it's important to be looking at the bill, because they will tell you how much the cost is, but then you look at your bill because the cost will also have $30 to $50 more of service fees on top of it.
Yep.
So make sure you know like what figure you're talking about. It's just a little bit of a racket, being honest.
It is. Oh, yeah. They're big corporations. They're going to do whatever they can to save the account.
So something I didn't know when I was looking up, by the way, is that Comcast is now a much bigger company. I mean, when I was growing up, Comcast was my cable company. But Comcast is owned by NBC. So just saying, if you want to get out of the big machine, get your internet service through AT&T and just get rid of any sort of bill you have with Comcast, and you might have to say you're leaving the country. Part 2, making a list of your favorite shows. Now, I think we should all be a little flexible, because you're going to open yourself to so much TV, you won't have time to watch everything you want to watch. But if you have favorite shows, I think it's important to list them out, what you are currently watching that you definitely want to see going forward. And then here's the trick. Once you have that list, you want to either go to a website such as reelgood.com, reelgood.com is a website that is like a channel guide, takes the place of that from your cable, Or there's an app on your phone called Just Watch, JustWatch. And Just Watch, I mean, I prefer the app. I use it on my phone all the time. It is awesome. You create a little account so it can, it's free, and it keeps your information with your account, and you can put which streaming services you have. And there's tabs to show you what's playing on your services. And also there's a search tab, like the looking glass, and you click on that, type in a TV show name, and it'll show you all the different streaming services that it's available on.
Right.
So you could go down your list and of your shows and see if 90% of what you want to watch is on, Max, HBO Max app, then wow, I could just have that and maybe one other thing.
Correct. Yeah, and just to kind of piggyback off that, you already mentioned HBO Max, but that brings us to, what is a streaming service? What does that mean? Netflix is a big one, Hulu, HBO Max. HBO used to be just HBO. Now it's just Max. There's Peacock, Paramount, Disney Plus. And those are all independent. They're all independently owned. Some of them, they have deals with one another where you can subscribe through like Showtime to get Peacock at a discounted rate. A lot of times, like if you sign up for AT&T, as Barbara mentioned, they'll throw in a subscription to Peacock. There's, Apple TV. So there's all different types of services, and they have what they call original content on those services. So as an example, when Netflix came out, I think one of the first original content they had was Orange Was the New Black. I'm sure there was other ones before that, but that was one of the big ones that really took off for them. So that's one of the things you can do is those streaming services are a paid service, just like your cable bill, but they're significantly less expensive, like maybe $5, $10, $15 a month, depending on whether or not you want high quality, whether or not you want ads, whether or not you want to stream it on different devices, and we'll talk about how to stream it in a little bit. But they're services that you pay for, and they're subscriptions. So they're monthly subscriptions you can cancel at any time. You can use them on your phone, you can use them on your computer, your television, that we'll talk about.
And when we talk about original content, that means that company, like Netflix, paid for it and made it, is their original content. And then I want to say a lot of people, because Netflix has so many shows that you can't get from other places, like it definitely won't be on cable. I know a lot of people that have cable and Netflix. So you can arguably, be using your Netflix still, cut your cable all the way out, and grab one or two other streaming services, and you have plenty of TV. And I wanted to point out, this is kind of like jumping ahead, but just to keep in mind, certain apps like Just Watch, the one I use, is really good for watching your subscriptions. So because you have everything on there and you see when they run out. So for example, sometimes I'll find a show. I'm just thinking of one. I'm not a big person for Peacock, but I periodically will get it for a couple months to watch a couple shows. There's this show called Below Deck. Is that on Paramount Plus or Peacock? I can't remember. But anyway.
It's on Peacock, yeah, for sure.
So, I mean, there's certain things where it's like, I'll grab it for just a little bit. So think of it even as, I know some people, if you're trying to be like streamlined and be a little frugal with your entertainment, like they might get HBO for like the fall months because certain shows will be airing and then they cancel it. So you can do that all the time with these other services as well. So for example, I think it's quite prudent to have like certain ones all the time, like maybe Netflix and Max. I do like to watch a lot of TV. So maybe have those two. And then periodically I either would have like Peacock or Paramount Plus, or if I just feel like I have a lot going on in my life, I might just cancel all the other ones until, if you have surgery, you want to get, let's get an extra one, if you're going to be at home. So
yeah, and that's the thing with you adopt these streaming services like Netflix and Max because you have your favorite shows that you like to watch on cable. And then they have the original content that you can't live without. Like Below Deck is like an obsession. It's just such a great show. And or Billions on Showtime, just two of our favorites. As Barbara said, we might turn the services on and off depending on when a new season starts for a particular show. So that's one thing you can do. And you can't do that with cable. You can't call up your cable company and say, hey, turn it off for a couple of months. I'm not going to use it. Whether you're using it or not, they're going to charge you. So none of them have any type of annual contracts or anything like that. So that's a big benefit.
Yeah. And so one thing I did want to point out is that you will be forfeiting a couple things, probably. And let me tell you why. There are streaming services that are just like having cable. So streaming live TV. And those are more expensive. I would say $50, $60 a month for those. And that is, I'm going to read you a little list. YouTube TV, Hulu Live, and then there's free versions, which are Sling, Fubo, Fubo, and Philo, Philo. So the free ones, Sling, Fubo, and Philo, are, that sounds like a really bad song, doesn't it?
What's that? Swing Low Fibo? Sorry.
Sweet Chariot. Anyway, those automatically, because they're free, you're going to have commercials.
Right, yeah. We forgot the big one, Amazon. Amazon Prime is part of it. If you have Amazon Prime, you get Amazon as a streaming service. They recently added to their service, they added ads. So now you have to sit through ads. I think they're coming out with a paid version where you can pay and not have the ads. But
there's a subsection of Amazon TV called Amazon Freevee, Freevee, and that is where there's absolutely commercials you have to sit through.
Okay.
So here's the other thing. So going back real quick, YouTube TV Live, and I think it's YouTube TV Premium and Hulu Live. Those are the ones that are a little bit more expensive than the other streaming services. Me personally, I don't like it at all because when it's live, you have to see commercials.
Yeah.
And so I would rather wait till the next day, regardless, to avoid the commercials because it saves time. If you're somebody that doesn't mind the commercials and you want to watch it live, by all means. But those would make you comfortable because they'd be very much like cable where there's a set time. I love streaming services without commercials where regular Hulu you can pay for. It's cheaper if you watch the commercials on the pre-recorded, and then it's a little bit more expensive not to because the people putting the ads out aren't paying for that, right? So you're going to pay for it. But if it saves me 15 minutes off each show that I watch for an hour, that's kind of a big deal to me. It kind of depends on your priorities.
Exactly. Yeah, it's all, they all have a plan for everybody with regard to what you want to engage with and what your favorite shows are. There's going to be something for everybody for sure.
Yeah. But if you don't have live TV, if you're not going to have one of those, you're going to be missing out on certain live sports unless you get a specific streaming service for that. And a lot of live local news, which I actually hate. I feel like news has become something absolutely different than what it used to be.
Well,
I
yeah,
would rather, that's a whole other episode.
that's a whole other topic. Yeah.
I would rather read my news rather than have somebody entertaining me by telling it to me and putting a spin on it.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, there is a way, if you have a streaming service, you can still have local channels on all TVs. I'm 99% sure all TVs still have a little jack on the back for an antenna, like we
Yeah.
had back in the 90s and the 2000s. So you can hook that up to your antenna on, on your, with that antenna, or if you have rabbit ears, or if you have an antenna on top of your house, you can connect that. And then we'll still get local channels, so you can still get your local news if that's what you want. And with respect to sports, you can get what's called ESPN Plus, which is an add-on to Hulu. I believe it's also available for Disney. I don't remember how many, but that's another one that, as Barbara mentioned, there's an app you can use if you want to have certain local sports or, college football, professional football, those types of things. You can probably find that through ESPN Plus.
I think this is like, it's so nice though, because some people say you live here and you're an expat and you want to watch all the European football. You would have specific streaming services and channels to watch what you want to watch because no cable company here is going to provide that.
Right, exactly.
I wanted to read off this list really quick. If you were to Google like streaming services and you go to Wikipedia, it's really interesting because it shows you how many, like, which are more popular, how many people are subscribed to each one, and like who owns what. It's kind of interesting. So we've got the two big ones, Amazon and Netflix, and now Max, which is HBO and Discovery, and it's owned by Warner Brothers.
Yeah.
Then we have Hulu. So Walt Disney owns Hulu, Disney Plus, and ESPN Plus. So all three of those are connected. Yeah, like as you were just saying.
Okay. Interesting. Okay.
So
good to know.
Just for the average listener, Scott and I don't watch sports, and we don't have kids. So I feel like ESPN and Disney are just like off my radar completely.
Yeah.
Then we have Paramount Plus, which is CBS and Showtime. And that the CBS is the one with the eye. The logo looks like an eye.
Mm-hmm.
Commercial broadcast system. Then we got Peacock, which is NBC with the Peacock logo, obviously. And that is their parent company of NBC is Comcast. So then YouTube Premium, Apple TV Plus, Stars, which is Lionsgate, and another one I just got to put in there because this is kind of my jam. BritBox, which is BBC and ITV. So it would be channels that are originating in England. So if you're into the British TV, that's where you would see it.
That's a lot of good stuff on there. Don't let her tell you different. The British TV is awesome.
Yeah. So, and listen to this. So I didn't even know this. So free services. I mean, this is just the same as like if you used your antenna and got like the, basic 10 channels free just from receiving them through your antenna.
Yeah. Just local channels
that are free. Then there's also, okay, so you've got, this is a series of things. They call them FAST, free ad supported television. So you are going to see more ads, but they're absolutely free. So that would be Pluto, Crackle, Pluto like the planet, Crackle, Tubi, TUBI, Roku Channel, Amazon Freevee, Sling, and Redbox. So,
oh yeah, Redbox, right? Yeah, okay.
If you would love to just pay next to nothing, I mean, you really could if you're willing to see commercials. And I mean, there's so much you could see. You could have Netflix and then a couple of these and be set if you really wanted to.
Yeah, you're going to get a lot of ads, a lot of advertisements to your email, all that stuff. But yeah, no, that's definitely an option.
Yeah. All right. And next thing I just wanted to point out here before we get into streaming devices that Scott has a lot of good knowledge on. Smart TVs now, I mean, you don't have to have a smart TV to stream, and we're going to get into that. But smart TVs are just like smartphones in the sense that there's an app store. And I'm a little embarrassed to say I didn't really understand this until a few years ago when I got a Peloton, because I was thinking, how am I watching it? Like I was trying to figure out how to project like the screen of your iPhone onto your TV. But on the app store, it's just the same where, when I got my Peloton, this is just an example. So I go on the Peloton website, I create my account, all this stuff, and it keeps track of all my workout classes, right? And then, of course, I want it on my phone. So I download the app from the App Store on my phone for Peloton. And then I go in there, and it's really handy because having it there, I can do audio only, which are like meditation classes. But I can also look up different classes and add them into a stack so that when I'm ready to actually go work out at home on the bike, all the classes that I want are lined up in my profile, right?
Mm-hmm.
In addition, you go to your smart TV and there's an app store. You find Peloton. Again, it's free. The only thing you're paying for is you're paying Peloton, right? So then you're logging in with your information, and then all of your classes, like say you have stretching, yoga, all these things where you're not actually on the bike with the bike screen, you
Mm-hmm.
just are watching them on your TV. So most smart TVs like come with already installed on them, all these major services like Amazon, Netflix, Max, like all those apps will be right there, but you can
Mm-hmm.
customize it however you want.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. And any smart TV, they're ubiquitous. So any TV you buy today is going to be a smart TV.
Yes.
It's going to have the remote for your TV will have streaming services as one of their buttons. Like it'll have a Netflix button, it might have a Max button, depending on what type of TV you bought. So all TVs, like Barbara said, are just like your smart devices for home. For your tablets, for your phones, they're going to have an app store that you can download, and they're going to be like Google Play, because most smart TVs are based off Android phones. There's the same operating system, so um, yeah, they're very easy to use.
Now, if you don't have a smart TV, say you have an older TV that you want to keep using that is not a smart TV, then all you
Hmm.
need to do is have a streaming device. But there's also many reasons to use a streaming device with a smart TV.
Hmm.
And I really get annoyed by having 7 different remotes and a lot of buttons. So I got to tell you, I was like amazed when I learned from Scott the joys of Apple TV 4K. Take it away.
Well, yeah.
There's
So this is our Apple TV remote.
This
Uh,
remote does everything. Everything, and you
yeah,
can talk to Siri on it. Okay.
you can have a interactive conversation with artificial intelligence through this if you're bored or lonely. Yeah.
Or if you want to push the button and say, I want to watch Below Deck, and it's going to show you, bing, bing, all the places on your TV where you can watch it. And you click on one of them
Correct.
and you watch it. It's so easy.
Correct. And that is not isolated to the Apple TV remote. But yeah, this remote is nice. It's Apple's low profile aesthetic, where it doesn't have a lot of loud stuff on here. Sometimes it's annoying because it's very, very, very easy to lose in your couch cushions. Anyway, I digress. But yeah, any smart TV or smart streaming device is going to have, like, you can call it a smart remote or whatever you want to call it. So on this, there's a little button right there that you can press that will turn on the microphone, and then you can tell it if you want to watch something, if you want to turn the volume up, if you want to turn on subtitles. All the remotes for streaming devices or smart TVs are going to have something like that.
And just real quick, so like a streaming
Hmm.
device, we're kind of Apple people. So our favorite is Apple TV 4K, not to be confused with Apple TV Plus, which is an app and their channels. So there's original series, TV
Hmm.
shows from Apple TV Plus. Apple TV 4K is the little box that comes with this remote so
Correct.
you plug the box into your TV. And other examples of a streaming device would be like a Fire Stick, Roku, which is less popular now, but it was like one of the first really awesome, like little doodad. You plug it into your TV and then you're streaming the internet into your TV and watching those channels.
Yep. Yep. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to real quick, I'm going to share my screen, and I'm going to show you Apple TV here. So this is what the device looks like. This is a little, oops. Yep. Can we see that, hon?
Yes, and so we can
Okay.
see like how big it is compared to for scale to see the size. And can you hold up the remote one more time? Yes. So
So
like
that's the remote.
yeah.
Yeah, and then so that's the Apple TV. So as Barbara had said, there is the Apple TV device, the little box that you plug into your TV, and then there's the service that you pay for monthly, and that's Apple TV Plus. And then likewise, you have services like Amazon Prime, which is a streaming service, and they also have their own boxes because they are trying to create what they call an ecosystem. So they want to create a system where you have an Alexa that you have in your home for as your AI assistant, or to check the weather and those types of things. And then you have a TV box that is for your Amazon. Google has the same thing. They're all trying to kind of keep you in their circle. They call it their ecosystem. So it just makes things work better together. I just want to show you one more thing while we're on the topic of boxes. This is another example of all the different types of streaming boxes you can get.
And they also call them sticks, don't they? Like, isn't it an Amazon Fire Stick?
Yeah, so you can get sticks. There is an Amazon Fire Stick right here. There is an Amazon Fire TV Cube. That's a Roku remote. That is an Amazon Fire Remote. That's a kind of a bad picture. That's what they call this one here is called Chromecast. That's by Google. This is a good article. It just talks about different streaming devices you can have, and they all plug into your TV. And then you just switch to that input on your television, and you have your streaming box. And as Barbara said, I don't like smart TVs. The interfaces are not. They're kind of clunky. They're not real intuitive, in my opinion. I like the Apple TV. It's just very, very easy to use. You just click a button and then you just go to what you want to do. There's not a lot of jumping around.
So, and I wanted to say, like, in addition to having a smart TV, I really love having the Apple TV 4K box because of, whoever's setting up your TV should sync everything up. So, for example, we only use that little remote. 95% of the time, that's the only thing we need to use. And there's like 10 buttons on it. So the Apple TV 4K will upgrade the picture and sound a little bit, and it's faster playback, and it's got the Siri in it, the Siri voice, which is awesome because I think it totally takes the place of having a TV guide channel. Obviously, you don't have something like that because everything is pre-recorded. It's not like you're looking at what's available right now because everything is. But what's awesome about the Apple TV 4K is it organizes everything so that when you turn the TV back on, it'll have all the apps below, and then on the top, it'll show each thing, the last 7, 10 things you were watching. So you can go right back to it. And it just kind of streamlines because, as I said, you can hold down that button and talk to Siri and say what show you want to watch. And it takes you right to it.
Exactly, yeah. And if you were to look at a smartphone or a tablet with respect to Apple TV anyway, it's organized the same way where you have an app store, you can have a YouTube channel, you can have something for your pictures, with Apple TV, you can pretty much do all that stuff. That's just the box. That's not the service. The service is that's where you get their original content.
Yeah. Whenever you buy an Apple TV 4K, like the box, they will give you a few months free of Apple TV Plus. And so it's worth just checking it out. I mean, there's a few shows that are really great on there that are original, but that's another one of those where I feel like, for me personally, it's not like I want it all the time. I might get it for 1 month out of the year and watch a couple shows.
Right. And so just to piggyback off what Barbara said a little while ago, when you get a streaming service like this, whether it be an Amazon Fire Stick or an Amazon Box or a Roku, the remote that came with that device, whether it's just Apple TV, this is going to be your primary remote going forward. So this is going to be the remote you have. You have your volume buttons on here, the plus and the minus there. You have your pause and play. The button on the top is for navigation, and the one way up here is for turning on and off. There's also a mute button here. So this is going to be your default remote. A lot of it also depends on how your home entertainment system is set up. Ours is set up where I just press a button and everything turns on. So it just depends on how how geeky you have your stuff set up. But you might have to have a couple other remotes depending on how you're set up. You might have to keep the remote for your TV. It just depends.
Or you can have someone like Scott come over and sync it all up.
That's right. You can have me come over, throw in a pot of coffee, and we'll watch some football. Never.
All right. I think we kind of covered everything we wanted to talk about.
Yeah. And do your, like we said earlier on, do your research. There's a lot of different options out there. You can go to, as ironic as it is, you can go to Amazon and type in streaming box or Amazon Prime or Apple TV, and they'll have a number of different options depending on how, what type of content you want to get. And there's, Barbara said, we have the Apple TV 4K. There's also the Apple TV I think 2080, which is just a lower quality. It's still fantastic quality, but it's just a lower quality, and it's going to be more affordable. And there's different levels of streaming boxes depending on how much high quality you want in your box, and if it does other things. There's an Amazon Firebox that will integrate with your TV and become your Fire Stick as well as your Alexa. So it just depends on what you want to do. I'd start small if you're not really sure and
Yeah.
go from there. And you can certainly, as Barbara said, you can certainly reach out to me. I'm at www.mackeytech.org, mackeytech.org. And there's a way you can click on the Hire Us button and schedule a free consultation. And I'll be happy to answer any questions. And of course, you can leave any questions in the comments.
Yes. Oh, and one last thing that I wanted to touch on. Before I lived with Scott, I was a little bit confused about the internet speeds. Would you please give us a quick synopsis of how to know if you're having adequate internet speeds? Okay, I said that wrong. Like what kind of internet package you need there than before you were just using, because you're using a lot of internet to stream.
Yeah, it's a good question. So it doesn't have to be that crazy, to be quite frank.
Okay.
Most internet speeds you get these days are going to be sufficient. Without getting into too much detail, as long as it's, I think the bare minimum is like 50 megabits per second or whatnot. One of the things you can do if you're not sure is if you have a smartphone, just pull up YouTube on your smartphone and see if you can watch a video off YouTube. And if it streams fine, then you're fine. Then you can get a streaming device, and they work through your home Wi-Fi. So when you get your streaming device, you can hook it up to your home network, and then that's how it gets its content. It streams the content. That's why it's called streaming, because it gets it from the airwaves, it downloads it, and it streams it to your device. So if you're not sure, you can always test to see if you can get good video on your phone. If you don't, you can look at the different plans and get the highest one you can afford, would be my recommendation. Highest speed.
When I was looking at the Apple TV 4K, the streaming device box, I noticed that they sell it for $130. This is 2024, which would be with Wi-Fi only. And then for $150, it's a different setup where it's Wi-Fi and Ethernet. That's kind of interesting. So Ethernet would be if you're like actually plugging it into the wall.
Correct. Yeah, the Ethernet would be a dedicated, looks like a little phone cord, RJ45. It's a little bigger.
Yeah.
If you have one of those in your house, that's how we have our setup. That will guarantee you never have any lag at all whatsoever. That's very, very fast. That's at high speed.
Yeah. Excellent. Okay, well, this is a lot of information. And the bottom line is companies are ridiculous. And I feel like cable is kind of going out. And so for some reason, I would think that they would offer it a little cheaper, but it seems like the prices are just going up. So
yeah, they are definitely going up. I would be interested, if anybody's listening or watching this, as to what setup you have, if you guys do have a streaming service, or if you are looking to get out of cable, what you're using, what you'd like to use, what your favorite channels are. I would be interested in your feedback. If you guys have any comments, suggestions, put them in there.
Yes, sounds great. So I'll put Scott's information in the notes so you can find Mackey Tech and find his YouTube channel as well, and vice versa. And please give us a like or follow or subscribe, whichever way you're listening or watching. And we'll see you next week.
Awesome. Thanks again, guys. Appreciate you watching. Thank you, Barbara, for the invite.
Sure. Bye.
Take care. Bye.